.338.3. Risky business. And a lot of speed at mid-track. The track just left the center. Risky business. Not going to get there. I actually heard a surge in RPM right here about 220 feet.
Truck down there. I do. Here we go. Mr. Eric Claypool out of Macon, Missouri. The risky business. Joe going to lay it in there nice. Not going to be enough, I don't.
All right.
What a season.
See if we can get us on. It looks like we've got Joe waiting in the wings here. Josh, how you doing, buddy? We didn't go live on Facebook there before we got started into the video, so just want to welcome everybody tuning in on Facebook, whichever site you're coming through. If it's on the Outlaw page or on Beer Money Pulling Team, we welcome you. This is Outlaw with Ron Stone and Josh Runyon on here tonight, my co-host. Jason down in Dallas, Texas this week, so he won't be joining us tonight. Special guest tonight is legend Joe Claypool and hopefully our young gun, Eric Claypool. I don't see him waiting in the wings here. He's a little camera shy, I think, Josh.
I think so. We've tried to get him on here several times now, and he always seems to elude it for some reason or another.
Yeah, he's usually pretty talkative.
Yeah.
You know, and he's pretty passionate about some things. But, man, as soon as I mention something about going live on the show, he's MIA on me. He goes missing.
He does that. You throw a microphone in his face to pull, he's the same way. He gets it when you try to interview him, he clams up all of a sudden. But then you catch him back at the trailer and hear him telling all these stories about how he did this and whooped up on so-and-so. But he never will say it to everybody. I'm not sure why.
We're going to go ahead and bring Joe on right now.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Welcome to the show here. Excuse me. I got a little cough going on here. Got that stupid little tickle in my chest when I try to talk, and it tries to get me to coughing. But how are things over in Macon, Missouri?
Oh, it's just fine.
Is Eric going to be missing in action?
Yeah, he's missing in action.
What a surprise.
What could take priority over being live on this show with us tonight?
Well, he just gun shy, as you said earlier. He has a hard time talking in front of the microphone.
We'll have to get you to set him up one week, Joe. You just get him over there to quote unquote watch the show and happen to be on it while you're in the process.
And we can do that.
So we've got Joe Claypool on, one of our legends with the Outlaws. Joe shares driving duties with his son, Eric Claypool, truck called Risky Business. They were the 2020 points champs with the Outlaws last season. And you started pulling in what year, Joe?
I believe I actually started pulling tractors in 1973. Done that for 4 or 5 years, and then switched over to trucks. I believe first time I ran was in 1981, I think.
Okay. So about 40 years pulling pickups. That's a little bit of time there.
I took a couple of breaks, a time or two there through that 40 years.
Couple of breaks to think about it.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time you thought about throwing in the towel?
Oh, a little bit, but having them two younger boys, why it was that they were always interested in it, and Eric, he took a real big interest in it. So I'm going to contribute that. That's probably why I'm still in the sport.
Gotcha. He does get pretty excited about pulling. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, he definitely loves it.
Is he there with you watching?
No, he's not.
All right. He's a pretty smart feller then.
He knows how to hide out.
So you started pulling tractors. Explain that. What classes it was, or
I ran a John Deere 4520 in what they called back then a super stock class.
Okay.
And the first time my dad let me take it to town, of course we had to drive it, didn't have anything to haul it.
Right.
And I drove it like 16, 17 miles of town. And come my turn in our class, I wound up winning that class. So I guess that's kind of what bit me right there. I mean, I've had the bug ever since.
No, would that have been in Macon or?
Yes, it was right here in Macon.
Oh, good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal. So you grew up in Macon then? Huh?
Yes.
Okay. But never tore up the tractor doing that.
No, we got real lucky. Never really ever blowed motored up or tore anything up in the tractor class.
Don't you wish you could still say that?
Yeah, it'd be nice to say that, yes.
So you started pulling in 81.
Yes.
Did you start out in the modified pickup class?
Yep, I started out in the modified class. My first motor was a 482.
And was there a maximum cubic inch limit?
Yeah, I ran what used to be called the Tri-State organization, and we had a 530 cubic inch limit.
Okay.
And at that time, that's all I could afford was a small 482.
Now, any championships to speak of? I know I mentioned the 2020 Outlaw Championship, but any others?
I never won a championship. I was second, third, fourth, fifth. I mean, I got close numerous times, but of course, I always had a job that I couldn't always go to all the pulls, so that kind of hurt me on a points championship.
Yeah, I was looking back through some history there from 17 to 21. You were top 5 every year. So
yeah.
Now, when did Eric start helping you drive? Was when he turned 16?
When he turned 16.
Okay. Always drove the Chevrolets. Always had the Chevys.
Yep, that's all I've ever had.
Now you've got your old pickup back, and was that the original you started out with in 81?
No, that wasn't an original truck. I had one prior to that I built completely myself. My old truck was originally was a Texas Blue Bonnet.
Oh, okay.
That Roy Holland had from Texas.
Ah, okay. I remember that truck well.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of history right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you pulled with Tri-State, a group called Tri-State, the Outlaws. Any other groups you pulled with?
We pulled a little bit of NTP, or not NTPA. We did a time or two with NTPA when they was in town. We pulled ITPA some also over in Illinois.
Okay. Any pulls that stand out in your memory, Joe? You remember it, whether it was a big win for you, maybe you blew the motor sky high. I mean, just something. Some pull maybe that sticks out in your memory. You want to talk?
I guess one that really sticks out, and it was just a few years back, is in Kansas City when it was in Kemper Arena. I got lucky to be the first puller, and I wasn't going to give up that spot. And I, of course, hit the sand pile the first time, hit it the second time, and real close to the third time.
That was 2014, wasn't it, Joe?
Yes. And like I say, I feel like I learned more right there doing a back-to-back pull than anything.
They reset the sled on you? And
then they kept resetting the sled, and I wouldn't give up that spot.
I imagine the clutch might have been a little bit warm.
Yeah, clutch was getting a little warm. I guess if I would have drove it like I should have, I probably would have gained that extra 6 inches that I needed to win it.
So how'd you end up? You get second?
I got wound up getting second. Got beat out by Nick Christensen. He beat me by 6 inches.
Yeah, one of them Ford guys. Huh?
Yeah, I know it. I kind of hate to even bring his name up.
Well, I don't see any comments. Oh, here we go. We got a couple comments coming in. But
yeah, this will probably be a pretty boring interview. You probably won't get much out of the general public.
We got quite a few people watching.
Yeah.
Pretty good numbers here so far. But now we're going to fast forward here to 2021, Joe. Something happened in the middle of the season here that kind of put a hiccup in your points chase. I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but I'm going to throw it out there. You look great. I'll tell you that right now. You look great considering, but tell us about 2021. I'm
assuming you're referring to my heart attack.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I had a heart attack in September, into September there, and then had open heart surgery in October the 6th. And I'm getting along really, really well with that. Matter of fact, I just had my final doctor's appointment today, and they completely turned me loose.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was a multi-stage bypass, was it?
Yeah, it was a four bypass.
4-way.
Yeah.
Drake Haggerty. If you know Drake Haggerty, says more words of wisdom. Just talking about some of the comments here. One Facebook user says you put on a great pull there in Macon, which we're planning on coming back there in 2022. We talked about that a little bit today, Joe. Of course, your class will be offered there, being your hometown pull. Let's talk about Macon a little bit, the history of that event. If you've always had, been part of it throughout the years.
Oh, we've helped with the honor flight. Now, like I say, it's actually turned over to the honor flight people now, and we just run the show for them is what we do. And we help try to get sponsorship money for them.
Gotcha. That was actually one of the first outlaw events actually the first outlaw event that I got to announce about 4 years ago, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Fred Petch, him and I.
Yep, he was there. He was one of the announcers. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was being evaluated as.
Gotcha. In training, huh?
My skills or lack thereof as an announcer. So.
We'll leave that up to everybody's personal decision, right?
So, what's the biggest changes that you've seen? Well, in your class specifically, then in pulling in general, if there's anything that stands out to you that's changed over the years.
Oh, I'd say the biggest thing is the open cubic inch limit just keeps, it just keeps climbing, just keep getting bigger and bigger motors, making more horsepower. And that's the biggest thing. And of course, the cost factor of what it takes to get there.
Right. You guys switched to the Sonny Leonard motor. Was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yes.
I think Cowtown you were debuting it at Cowtown.
Yep.
And, had a push rod or push tube.
Brake on you or figured out they put they were about 100 thousandths too short, and we wound up burning the end on one.
Oh. Yeah, I remember that when you was trying to come off the line there, it just sounded to me like a rocker arm or a push rod, whatever. But at least you got that out of the way before the season started.
Right. Eric was driving there. That's his spot to pull.
Gives you somebody to blame it on, right, Joe?
That's right.
Josh,
you're not going to be here to defend himself. Well, we'll talk about him.
Yeah, let's talk about him.
There you go. You don't show up, we're going to talk crap about you.
There you go.
Sorry on your luck, Eric.
Josh, go ahead and talk to him a little bit. I'll see if I can find. You have many pictures of the old truck or the new truck and the new old truck on Facebook page or anything?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I don't. Eric takes care of all that.
Okay.
One of the things that you mentioned there, Joe, is the expansion of it and the cost of it. Just for kind of a reference, back in '83 when you started pulling, what do you think you had in that complete truck?
Well, back then, if you could build a motor for around $10,000, we thought that was horrible at $10,000 for a motor. That was just almost unheard of.
Mm-hmm. So $10,000 motor, probably what, a $5,000 pickup to start with.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot invested in the truck itself. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just an old truck you got out of the junkyard, and you bought pieces and parts to fix it up as far as the body was concerned.
And now you're looking at almost $100,000 for an engine.
Yeah,
without a truck to go around it. So
exactly.
It's came and grown a long way. Some for the better, some for the worse. But
another big change is a quick change gearboxes and stuff. Of course, years ago we always had to run the just your regular transfer case. And, I wasn't the first one to try it, but probably the second one to try it. We built a chain transfer case. Harry Roberts from over in Illinois, he built the first one, and I kind of built one similar to his. That way we could change, and I made mine actually a quick change where I could have 3 gears on the top shaft where I just slide the bottom one over, and I could actually change gear ratios that way.
Was probably good for a couple more weights to hang out front too, as well.
I mean, everything about it was pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we always try to get everybody's input here when they're on the show. If you could go anywhere, any time, era, and pull any vehicle, where would it be and what would it be? What's Joe's dream pull?
Well, I mean, I like going to Louisville, and I used to really love going to Kansas City, Kemper Arena. Back in the 80s, I used to go up there when SRO used to put on shows up there, National Hot Rod Association, just to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, those two places there probably become my favorite as far as winter pulling. Going outdoors, I love going to Whitewright, Texas.
Yep. Good place to pull.
Yeah, that's always a good place to be.
Yeah. You guys weren't included there this year at Whitewright, but you're going back in 2022, Joe.
Yes.
Looks like they got you back in the lineup there. COVID kind of threw a monkey wrench in a lot of things there. There were some budget cuts here and there, and I think Whitewright had just a huge turnout from spectators this year. So they put you guys back in the lineup to come back to Whitewright.
Well, that's good. I'm glad we can go back.
There was a lot of people down there wondering where the four-wheel drives were. That class was definitely missed this year.
I hope it doesn't change people's attitude on coming back next year.
No, I'm sure they'll have a crowd. I'm sure they will have a crowd down there.
Now, you was talking
So
about.
you talked about. Oh, sorry, Ron.
Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead, buddy.
You had talked about pulling the old super stock tractor way back in the 70s. Have you since been in the seat of anything other than a four-wheel drive pickup? Anybody ever put you on a tractor or something just to get a feel for something different?
Nope, never have. I would always kind of like to had a mod tractor of some sort, but I just can't afford that.
Oh, come on, Joe. It's only money.
Oh, I know, but there's only so much of that to go around.
I hear you. Go ahead, Ron.
Speaking of money and horsepower, you talked about your first motor in your first truck was a 482. Compare that to what you're running now, cost and horsepower versus cost and horsepower, what you're running in 2021.
Well, like back then, we didn't hardly even think about dyno, and so we're guessing that we were probably only making 600 or 700 horse, maybe 8 at tops. And nowadays we're up there pushing that 1,700 mark. So that's a big difference.
Yep. And your first motor was about, how much did it cost you? Did you say 10,000?
Oh yeah. It was less than 10,000. I mean, I didn't even run aluminum heads. I run iron heads.
That's and then compared to the cost of the Leonard motors that you're running now, and I think those are actually going up too, Joe.
I'm sure everything is. So why not?
They used to have the price right there on the Facebook or on the website, and I noticed the cost is missing now from that page. So
don't want to scare you off too quick.
That may be one of them you need to call on Black Friday, Joe. See if they're having a sale on.
Yeah, one's enough for me right now.
They were giving one away a couple of years ago at PRI, and you could buy a chance on it. It was for a charity. I can't remember what the charity was, and I bought a few chances for that when I was there. Yeah, that's I ran a super street pickup in the early 2000s to mid 2015, 16. And my last motor was a small block. And I thought about that many times. It made 750 horse. And I thought, man, when I first started watching the modified pickups back in the early 80s, they probably were making about this much horsepower that this little small block's making. Technology has really brought the horsepower numbers up over the years.
Yeah, it's changed a lot.
And of course, those Sonny Leonard motors, that seems to be the ticket. Now, the Ford guys, for the most part, sticking with their Ford-based Hemis, the Allen Root motors, things like that. But everybody else, non-Ford, pretty much leans toward those Sonny Leonard motors.
Yeah, just about everybody, I think, in Outlaws almost has a Hemi style motor now.
Well, even the Thumper truck running a Leonard motor now.
Yeah.
Sometime this season, at some point in the season, I can't remember if it was early.
Yeah, about halfway through, they switched.
They switched it out, and I think I gave them a hard time about putting the Ford motor in the Chevy pickup
right
this year. Derek Brown's chiming in. He says he looks forward to joining you guys.
Okay.
Pulling in that mod 4-wheel drive class. He picked up a truck in the off season. He picked up the old Oklahoma Showdown.
Okay.
Chevrolet. So they're working on getting a motor for it and throwing their hat in the ring in that mod 4-wheel drive class this year.
We're going to be glad to have him in the class.
Yeah.
And you guys, you and Eric purchased your original truck. Now, that was the Texas Blue Bonnet truck that you have back.
Yes.
You have that now. And you were gearing up to put that back on the track. But you told me earlier something had changed. Let's talk about that a little bit. You've got another truck you're going to be running. Tell us.
Yes, we've been offered a opportunity to run another guy's truck for a while. I don't want to throw any names out there just yet who it is, because we haven't finalized the deal yet. But I mean, I think it's 99% sure that we will, and he's going to run it when he can go to some of the pulls once in a while. But majority of the time, we'll be running it for him.
Okay. So we won't throw out any details of who it is. I know who it is, but I won't. I won't say anything. It's a pretty good running truck.
Yeah, it's a nice truck. There's no doubt about that.
So over the years, have you had any major sponsors? Anybody that's helped you get through?
No, I pretty much have done it pretty much all by myself. Oh, haven't ever really went out there and tried to beat the bushes for a big sponsor of any kind.
Back in the 80s, there were guys that were actually trying to go full-time pulling. You probably remember that. Pulling was really in its heyday there in the mid to late 80s when everybody couldn't get enough.
Right.
Pulling, and there were several guys that were doing it full-time. Had you ever thought about anything like that back then? Did you ever think
that was always my dream, but there wasn't ever no way to ever get that pulled off.
Yeah.
When we ran Tri-State, of course, Tri-State was just strictly trucks. It wasn't tractors. And we might there was a few years that we had 60 hooks to go to if you wanted to. And we finally had to make a rule that you couldn't book a pull too close together. It had to be at least 150 miles away. And because they were just getting so many, and it just, you just couldn't go to them all.
Right. Yeah, and there, Missouri and Iowa, Nebraska, tons of pulls in this part of the country. I mean, there's so many organizations in the state of Missouri.
Right.
If you're a pulling fan and you live in, it's kind of like Ohio. If you live in Ohio or Missouri and you're a pulling fan, there's no excuse why you can't go to see a tractor pull.
Yeah.
On any weekend in the summer.
Yeah.
So, just had a question about the pickup there. You've got your old pickup back. You might be running a different one this year. The engines in these trucks, I'm going to look at how many hooks we've got booked for you guys here.
I think we're in the neighborhood around 20, I think.
22 is what we've got
okay.
At this point. Overall, several more pulls than we had at this point last year. How many runs can you put on one of those Leonard motors before you have to start thinking about rods and checking things out?
We usually stop around 25 to 30. I mean, I think they can go a little bit more, but I don't like taking that chance. We don't have to.
Well, that's perfect then. 22.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys have to change valve springs or anything midway through the year, Joe? Or?
We usually don't unless we break one. We did break one this year, but majority of the time we don't never change until the end of the season. I'll put a new set on every year.
Gotcha. I was curious. I know I've talked to some of the pro stock 4-wheel drive guys that have said, midway through the season they'll have to change valve springs or what have you. I was curious how that transferred up to the bigger motors. So
that might be a difference in RPM too. What kind of RPM do you guys turn, Joe?
Well, we probably turn more than what we should, but a lot of times we'll be getting up there close to 8.
Okay.
Sometimes a little over once in a while.
A lot of these pro stock pickups, these guys will turn, some of them will turn 10,000.
Yeah.
A few of them will get above there from time to time, depending on the track. But yeah, they turn them pretty hard. That's pretty hard on valve springs.
Yeah.
They turn them that hard. So you said you started pulling in, what did you say, 73? How old were you?
I would have been 15.
So your dad, did he pull at all, or just...
Yeah, he started pulling. We had an Alice Chalmers 7050. He pulled it a little bit too, and we bought another set of bigger tires one time from mine, and then we were looking at changing the fuel pump, going to something bigger there. And my mom, she finally put a stop to it. She said, "All right, you boys done spent enough."
Mom had a checkbook, huh?
Yeah, mom said enough's enough.
That's kind of a joke I tell at the pulls sometimes. Is I think I mentioned that during the Christensen's, the Nut and Honey truck. It's I don't know how I got that name, but I always just kind of talk to the crowd and tell them, that's when his wife asks him what the UPS man bring, Nut and Honey.
Yeah.
Always get those parts in flat black or a painted color. The chrome really draws attention from wives and significant others when you're ordering parts. Just a word to the wives out there.
Uh-huh.
The chrome really draws attention. So, Joe, I think Josh may have asked you your favorite place to pull, but I'm going to open it up a little bit more here and go back to when you first started pulling. We could include any pull in the country with any organization. Did you ever have a place that you just dreamed about pulling? It could have been Bowling Green or even the Farm Machinery Show.
No, not really. I mean, I always tried to go as much as I could go, whatever my job would allow me. I just couldn't afford to jump up into the level to like to go to Bowling Green, to be gone my job majority of the time.
You ever have a favorite? You have a favorite era of pulling? Maybe a certain time in the 80s or 90s?
Well, I guess I had a favorite spot to pull. It was Donaldson, Iowa. It was on the racetrack there. For some reason or another, I could always seem like I could do really, really good right there.
Okay.
That was always a fun place for me to go because I felt like I was always going to do good when we got there.
But did you have an era, like a certain time when it seemed the most fun?
I don't remember exactly. I don't remember the year it was now. I wound up winning 6 first places in a row one time. And I can't tell you what year that was, but it was with the old truck. Ronnie Evelyn, that used to run the old White Lightning truck, he got really frustrated with me a time or two there because he got a lot of seconds that year, or that during that little period.
That is frustrating when you can't figure out how to beat somebody.
Yeah.
I've been there.
But that there, I mean, I'll probably never get to that spot again to where I could win 6 in a row. It just seemed like I couldn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, that's tough with the competition that's out there now to stay ahead of them that far.
Yeah.
it would definitely be a tough deal.
Well, Joe, you started back in the early 80s, kind of the heyday of four-wheel drive pulling. It was everywhere and anywhere. Everybody wanted to see it. You had the Gary Salines, Manuel Morenos, all them guys. Did you have any guys that you looked up to that helped you along through your career, really?
Yeah, there's well, I'm related to Keith March and his brother Alan, who really helped me a lot to get me started in the truck pulling. They used to have a truck called Modern Problems, and then Keith, he went out on his own without his brother Alan, and it was called Ballistic Bow Tie. He had a truck that was called Ballistic Bow Tie. And another gentleman I have to really take my hat off to, or probably two more, that really helped me out a lot and give me a lot of inside information and stuff a lot of times, Raymond Engelbach and Harry Roberts. Oh, and those are two great guys to be around back in the day. They were a lot of fun. Had lots and lots of fun.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So what's the history on the current truck you're running now? Was there a story on that truck?
Yeah, I mean, it belonged, which, here again, related to him too, by marriage, Cody Lewis. He had the truck. Of course, he won Bowling Green maybe once or twice. And I know he won twice at Louisville with that truck.
Okay.
And I can't tell you, it's probably back, I think the sticker's still on the truck in 08 maybe, that he might have won Bowling Green possibly.
Okay. Got the all fired up?
Yes, that was called Fired Up at that point in time.
Okay. I recall that. I thought that was the story on the truck.
Yeah.
Wanted to ask you there.
Yeah. Well, I seen him at the baseball field one night, and he said, I believe I'm going to have to sell my truck. He said, the boys are really getting into baseball. And he said, I think I'm going to sell it so we can pursue that a little bit. And I just decided right then, couldn't let it get out of town.
Yeah.
So where did the Risky Business name come from, Joe? Is there any story behind that one?
There's really no story. I just always thought that fit. It was just kind of a risky business to be doing this. Yep. I mean, sooner or later you're going to scatter one.
So yeah.
Now, have you done that a few times?
Yeah, I'd done one of my 482s one time, and Eric, he's probably top of the list there of scattered motors. He done a couple back to back.
He's pretty good at getting every bit of the good out of one of them.
Yeah, he sure is.
Back to back. What year would that have been?
Oh my, I can't tell you now. It had been in the last 10 years. That's okay. I don't remember what year that was.
Yeah, that wouldn't have fit in there with that when I asked you what your best year or best era was there. That's the polar opposite of the 6-win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Josh, you got anything to? Eric's chiming in here. Hang on, Eric's chiming in. I was reading the comments. He said
I knew he couldn't stand it. He'd have to chime in.
He's been watching the whole time,
Oh yeah.
What year did he say, Ron?
2016.
2016.
Yeah, he's got a good memory for this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, you guys went out last year. 2020 was a short season, obviously, but you pulled off 2 huge wins, Mexico and Rock Valley. You come out this year. Were there any highlight moments for you this year that just really drove it home? This is why we're still here.
We seem like we struggled a little bit with the clutch issue, and got that ironed out. Of course, in Eric, he wound up winning Warrensburg, and that was getting down there at the tail end of the season. So, but we were struggling with clutch just a little bit.
Any aspirations for next year? Things that any pull that you really want to go to and win in particularly more than another one? Or
I'd like to go and win them all. It'd be fine. Be fun for one year.
Have you ever won Whitewright, Joe?
No, I've got second and third there numerous times, but I've never won.
Well, maybe you'll get that one this year. Like I said,
it would be nice.
That's a different event down there. You go, you're pulling starting to show in 90 and 100-degree weather. It takes a toll on things, but it's a lot of fun down there.
It's just a fun little place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Derek Brown chimed in a couple times here and was talking about his pickup that he's putting together, the old Oklahoma Showdown, for this upcoming season in 22. I think he's going to try to run both trucks, the pro stock and the modified. Any words of advice for Derek, Joe?
That goes from being fun truck pulling to a job. You got to really love it to want to do too.
Yep, Roper's gonna earn his keep a little more this next summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's just that's two more trucks in the class right there we're talking about here tonight. So
yeah,
should be a really fun.
We should have some really good numbers for next year, I think, as far as numbers in our class.
Yeah, I think so. I think looking at the schedule here, your first hook is White Wright, Texas.
Then
Rock Valley, Troy, Missouri.
Troy, Missouri. That turns out to be a really good track there too. Not just because we won at one time, but it's a very good horsepower track.
Yeah, we'll be back in Troy in 2022. Possibly Marthasville, Montgomery City again, Britt, Iowa, Corydon, Iowa. You'll be in Lamar's, Iowa this year. In 2022. We're going back to Lamar's. That's the night after Corydon. Gibbon, Nebraska, Mobile, Iowa again. And of course, Macon, Missouri, your hometown pull there. Possibly the Missouri State Fair. I think that's already out there.
Okay.
I'm not telling any secrets by mentioning that at this point. The Iowa State Fair, Wisner, Nebraska. I'm looking at Madison, South Dakota. And then here's a new one on you, Windsor, Colorado.
Yes. We've been hearing a little bit about that.
Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And Spencer, Iowa. 22 hooks for on four-wheel drive class in 2022.
Be just about right.
So
now, you guys, if you bring both trucks out like you're planning, are you going to be dedicated to one and Eric to the other? Or?
I'm not sure how we're going to make this work. We haven't really discussed that too far yet.
So is the door still open to the gentleman that owns the truck to come out and
yes,
when he has a chance?
He's going to come and run it part of the time when he can. He's just really busy with what his job is right now. So he just he knows if he doesn't get it out and run it, it'll just get outdated. So he wants to try to use it.
Well, I'll tell you what Eric just said on Facebook. He chimed in. He said he'll drive both. So.
Yeah, that figures. The only thing I get to drive is a semi.
Yeah.
Derek Brown says, "Oh, we can do it as far as running the pro stock pickup and the modified." Russell Dostal says, "We love all the pullers that come to Wisner." Pretty good pull up there at Wisner. Right?
Yeah, that's another fantastic pull there. I've got a second. That's as close as I've got there on winning that one there as second place. I've got a lot of seconds in my day.
Yeah, for the short period of time I ran with a group, that was pretty much my story there as far as points championships. I had several seconds and thirds, never seemed to get in that top spot. I was consistent, just not at the top of the ladder where I should have been when I was consistent. So, the Windsor, Colorado, that's a new one for us. That's a Labor Day weekend in 2022. It's supposed to be a really great event, patriotic event out there. And of course, Macon, Missouri is a patriotic event. That one that you helped put on there in your hometown, Joe, is we've been doing that. The year before we did it in Mexico for the Missouri Honor Flight, Central Missouri Honor Flight, and we'll be going back to Macon again this year. And we were just talking about classes, but I was watching some video that the NTPA has been in there. Any other organizations pulled there at Macon before?
I put a tri-state just strictly truck pull on way back there in the 80s, but no, it's always been either tri-state, NTPA, or Outlaws.
Okay.
PPL came in there. David Marino, he used to be the big promoter of that.
Okay.
Pull back in the day, the Show Me Showdown. He had PPL in there once, and then he had Outlaws in there once, but he pretty much stuck with NTPA most of the time.
Okay. Yeah, it's a great facility there for folks out there looking for a pull in Missouri. Come to see us there at Macon this summer. And Josh is a promoter too, Joe. He's got a pull down in Chickasha, Oklahoma.
Yeah, a little pull down here every year.
Okay, how come we don't have four-wheel drive trucks there?
Well, you gotta give us time, Joe. You gotta give us time.
All right, I just had to throw that in there.
That's why I threw that out there. Sorry,
I know.
We're gonna have some 4-wheel drive trucks this year. Just not your 4-wheel drive truck.
Okay.
I've got some things in the works with some promoters up north that are on the same weekend where maybe we can rotate some classes on an every other year basis and get some variety to the fans all over. So,
yeah, 2021 was the first year for Josh there at Chickasha, and they had one night. 2022, they've already added a class and a second night, so he's moving in the right direction down there.
All takes time. However, if Claypool Nursery wanted to sponsor some things down there,
yeah. You sound like
grow bigger and better.
Yeah, I'm all time getting hit up about sponsorship.
You deliver that far?
Huh?
You deliver that far?
No, I don't think I will. I think Eric might throw a fit if you had to go down there and do a landscape job.
Great opportunity to expand your horizons, Joe.
Well, let's expand them in another direction.
I'll put it this way: you think it's hot pulling in White Ride in June? Come pull in Chickasha in August.
Okay.
It was 104 this year when we started pulling.
Put us on the list there, and we'll be there.
We'll get you down here.
All right.
23.
We'll get you down here before it's said and done.
So, I ask this question sometimes of some of our guests, Joe. You've been in pulling for 40 years. I mean, you said you took a couple of breaks, but pretty devoted for 40 years to the sport since 1981. The changes you've seen and, the changes with just people in general, the generations coming up. In your opinion, what do we need to do to reach out to those folks? I'm always looking for ideas to reach out and get people on the hook of pulling, get them hooked. Most people don't even know what pulling is. I mean, how do we reach out to those people? Did you have any ideas?
I think what you guys are doing right now with this type of show here, and the more that it can be put out there, I just love, I can go to YouTube and pull up just all kinds of pulling a lot of times, especially outlaw pulling. I think that's what has really helped promote this sport.
Yeah, it still kind of amazes me that so many people don't even know what tractor pulling is, after all these years. It's
right.
There's so many pulls around, you think somebody would take a chance. And I think nothing against antique pulling or anything, but I think that's what people assume it is.
Right.
Say tractor pulling just in general. They think it's, some guys that pull their tractors out of the field and are pulling against each other. So that's kind of a challenge, a barrier we're trying to get over, is to get it out there so people can say, hey, what's that? And kids out in the country, your farm kids, they know what it is. It's the kids in the suburbs and closer to the city that don't know. So that's kind of a challenge. I always like to ask our guests if they have any ideas, because, there are no bad ideas. So
no, it's just like going to Kansas City, the farm show, or Louisville's been established for so long, but trying to get people, like say, from the city to come to one is really, really hard. Because a lot of them don't have no clue what it's even about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about some of the indoor pulls too, that literally there's not that many anymore, where back in the 80s, all winter long. You could pull on a winter circuit, pretty much every weekend. But most of those indoor pools were in a metro area, and you did get some of that exposure to kids from the city or kids from the suburbs because of that. And those indoor pools always were heavily advertised on TV as well. So a lot of our events that we do now, you don't see as much TV advertisement, and it's just all social media. So we'll keep plugging away there and trying to reach out to people. But Dusty, this one's for you, Josh. Dusty and Courtney Berry are saying you need to have 4 1s in Chickasha.
There's another one of those classes that we're working on getting down here. It's coming, I promise you. My end goal is to build a Rock Valley or a Wisner down here where we bring just about everything the Outlaws have to offer down for 2 days every year. So it's coming. Just bear with us.
Terry Carnahan, you know who that is, Joe?
Yes, I do. That'd be a first cousin.
Okay, he says, "Hey, cuz, line them out." So he's watching. Danny Webster is watching. So kind of cool to see when people post things on here. I know the young guns, Joe, all their friends will watch and give them a hard time on here. We don't have too many people giving you a hard time tonight. So
well, that's good, but I'm used to it.
So Josh asked you about any aspirations for this upcoming season. Let's look beyond that. Is there anything that you wanted to do in pulling you haven't done yet that you think you might get to doing it? Or
I'm like I say, I would love to go to Bowling Green. I mean, we went and watched before, but I mean, I would love to. But here again, then we're gonna have to do something different as far as a motor to run. Because they have the 650 limit. So that's the only thing that's holding us up. I mean, I would like to try that someday out there just for fun, just to say you did. It's kind of like going to Louisville. I mean, that to me, the winter, that's kind of like the Super Bowl of football. For us for pulling is Louisville pull.
Yeah. So you mentioned that the NTPA rule for your class is 650. Outlaws is unlimited cubic inch. What kind of cubic inch numbers are we talking with Risky Business?
Well, right now we're just a little over 800 cubic inch.
A little over 800.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that all?
That's all.
Yeah, that's a little motor.
A little small 800 cubic inch motor.
I thought you had something in that thing, Joe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Russell chimed in for you, Josh, said your pull needs to be when it's cool out so chubby guys like him can come down and not sweat.
Russell, if I can put up with it, you can, buddy.
So Clark Oltman's watching from Lincoln, Illinois, shared it on Super Ticker Timeline. Thank you. Charlie Herman.
Joe, we were talking about the cubic inches there while Ron's reading through the comments trying to catch up.
Oh, yeah.
What's the biggest motor that you know of on the circuit right now? You're obviously right up near the top. Is there anybody out bigger than you right now?
Well, I don't know if there is just a little bit. I mean, there's some up there at the 820 mark, but at the 5-inch bore spacing, you're getting about your limit.
Yeah.
Unless you go over that 5-inch bore spacing to get up there to that 900,000 cubic inch. I mean, I think Sonny's has one. It's pushing 1,000 or right at 1,000, but it's over. It's a 5.3 bore spacing.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's a monster.
Yeah,
yeah, I can remember. Go ahead, Josh.
Have you ever had any ambitions? I'm from back east, West Virginia, Ohio area, and I always enjoyed going to the OSTPA pools and watching the super modified 4-wheel drives.
Yeah.
You ever had any ambition to throw a blower on one? Or
no, not real. I mean, I've thought about it, but it's just too far away for us.
Yeah.
That's the only hang up I see with that. But we've run years ago. We used to run kind of an open class down in Kentucky. We'd run mod trucks against what we call the super mods, the blower motors, and of course we were indoors, so we could compete with that.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. In Kentucky, they still run that 170-inch wheelbase super mod class. Yeah. Ohio runs the standard wheelbase super mod blower class. So
Yeah, it's always funny to get down there in Kentucky and see them with the rear tires basically under the back bumper.
Yeah. Excuse me. Anybody you'd like to thank that's helped you out maybe this past season or over the years? Somebody?
Well, I'd like to thank Terry Hagedorn. He's done the motor work for me, and I mean, Terry's good, and he's close to me. I mean, I've been to Texas for motor work. I've been to Indianapolis for motor work. I mean, I've been all over the country for motor work, and this is pretty nice, only being less than an hour from the house to take something down there and get something worked on.
There you go.
Having one, freshened up.
He does all your freshening up over the off season. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a couple pretty tough trucks himself.
Yeah, he's got a couple tough trucks himself.
Pretty tough competitor there, Terry Hagedorn.
Oh, I got to thank my nephew, Stephen Schaus. He's helped me, helped Eric and I quite a little bit when we needed it.
Okay.
With his job, he used to go with us quite a little bit, but with his new job that he's got, he doesn't get a lot of time off to go.
Okay, good deal. Good deal.
And I got to really thank Eric's girlfriend, Caitlin.
Yeah, for keeping Eric in line.
Well, to keep him in line, and she keeps things kind of tight ship a lot of times with some stuff.
You need that. You need that.
Yeah.
That seems to be progressing along pretty good. I've been noticing Eric putting on Facebook that she's working really hard for a ring, to quote him. So maybe something coming in the future there. We never know.
Well, we kind of hope so.
That poor
if you keep him in line.
Well, she can definitely keep him in line. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen the evidence of that.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, Josh, if you don't have anything else, I'm going to go ahead and close it up with some video here.
I think that's it for me. Thanks for being on here with us, Joe.
Hey, no problem, man. Appreciate y'all having me.
Joe Claypool, the Risky Business Modified 4-Wheel Drive. Thanks for being on tonight, Joe, one of our legends with the Outlaws.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe. There we go.
Another good
I got
show.
this down. I got it down, buddy.
You're becoming a regular old Jason.
Oh, man.
Now we get you to talk funny and cut your hair a little crooked. And you just be right up there with the rest of them.
You might be watching. We better be careful.
Yeah, it's all right. We talked crap about you while you weren't here too. So
I know it. I figured as much. Goes with territory.
This turning out to be a real good thing, getting to talk to some of these guys that's been around this for many a moon, and always some good stories coming from them.
Yeah, one of the things that you think about is how do you classify someone as a legend? I'd say 40 years, pretty solid pulling year in, year out is would consider Joe Claypool a legend. So,
I would say if that resume doesn't get it done, nothing will.
I agree. But thanks, Joe Claypool, for coming on. Josh, thank you for coming on, buddy.
Thanks for having us. Enjoyed it.
Tune in next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be back for another episode of Outlaw. Folks, thanks for tuning in.
Good night.
Thanks, Josh.
.07 the mark to beat. Joe Claypool out of Macon, Missouri. Risky Business. 338.3. Risky business. Had a lot of speed at mid-track. The track just left to center. Risky business. Not going to get there. I actually heard a surge in RPM right here about 220 feet.
Truck down there. I do. Here we go. Mr. Eric Claypool out of Macon, Missouri. The risky business. Oh, Joe gonna lay it in there nice. Not gonna be enough, I don't